special. What was that for?
You said Halloween, so everybody likes to get jump scared nowadays, so...
To celebrate the Halloween season, we will not be doing any trick-or-treating this year.
Especially since we're getting a bit too old for that, but just like what I just did there, we're going to go back to the scary stuff! How are we going to do this? Well, here's what we have been seemingly becoming aware of. For the past 3 decades, we've seen that Cartoon Network has done a lot to spook the heck out of you. And there have been creatures and monsters coming in a variety of different shapes, sizes, and even species. We gathered a selection of some of the creepiest and scariest creatures and monsters that we could find. But the question is, how are we going to figure out what's the scariest? Well, to put it short, we're going to rank this 1 out of 5 skeleton heads. 1 being the least, 5 being the most. So you're going to have to figure out which one's the creepiest out of all of them for sure.
So we're going to be taking a look at a handful of Cartoon Network's most scariest characters from the past 32 years.
So, let's go ahead and get started with none other than, well, what else? Apparently we're starting with Looney Tunes again. We're going to this route because we're going to see Dr. Lorre.
I think it's Dr. Lorre, like Chuck Lorre. Now this evil scientist has appeared in a couple Looney Tunes classic shorts, including his debut appearance in the cartoon Hair-Raising Hair, and a brief appearance in Looney Tunes Back in Action.
But the problem is that his diminutive look and his behavior can be pretty normal for him, because it's sort of like a caricature of Peter Lorre in a way?
Yeah, in fact the first time they ever did it was in a classic Warner Brothers cartoon. I believe it's called Hollywood Steps Out. They did impersonations and caricatures of other Warner Brothers celebrities.
He knows about this character way more than me, so...
So this unnerving, psychopathic, and highly disturbed character would be adapted for Peter Lorre's other iconic, unnerving characters in film.
Judging by what I am hearing here, I'm gonna give him a 2.
We'll give him a 2.5 skull heads.
But now, for the next one, we all know that in every single thing from Scooby-Doo, the monsters, quote-unquote, are actually somebody in disguise. Because, you know, I would have gone away for it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. But we're taking this up a notch very seriously, as we're going to be taking a look at the zombies from, what else? Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was... and still is pretty much the most popular out of the many Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies since it first came out in 1998. But the zombies in this movie are not disgruntled real estate developers in a mask. Oh no. These are real zombies.
Yeah, and judging by just this alone, because you know how really gory and bloody these zombies can get, I'm pretty sure they had to tone that stuff down, like, significantly. But... yeah. That's the reason why Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island's such a big hit, because it's so real that you're just like, wait a minute, is there like an actual twist, like it's somebody in disguise? No, it's all real.
In fact, Fred had a hard time pulling off one of the, what supposedly was supposed to be a mask, but it was actually a real head.
Yeah, I'd be scared in that scenario too, and...
yeah, so the zombies on Moonscar Island were, in your words...
pretty freaky, yeah, so... I'm going to go for a 3.
Yeah, especially since how detailed these zombies look because of the theatrical quality animation used for this direct-to-video release.
But now we're going to go and travel to 1998 with not 1, but 2 characters from the Powerpuff Girls. But we're going to start off with one of the most iconic baddies from the series, none other than him.
Yeah, we would say his actual name, but I don't think he really has an actual name on the show. They just refer to him as, well, him. He's basically the most iconic baddies from the original Powerpuff Girls. In fact, he holds the number 3 spot on the top 10 list of the Powerpuff Girls' most hated arch enemies. He's sinister, demonic, manipulative, and the most dangerous out of all the evil villains and monsters we've seen in the original show.
Judging by what I'm hearing here, I'm gonna have to bump this up to a 4, because just hearing him, like, just with all that most dangerous stuff that he's done, whew, definitely don't want to be around him.
Basically, he's a demon.
And you guys know me, I hate demons. But now we're going to go from 100 to 0. Because the other character that we have here is Bunny. But this one, I think, is just plain strange. Because this character was more so created by the Powerpuff Girls themselves to help, try and ease out of the crime fighting and all this stuff. Because, everybody deserves a break. But this character does it a little bit strangely, because this person has the capability to create earthquakes by jumping?
Well, to put it simply, the Powerpuff Girls tried to repeat the same recipe of how they were originally created in the beginning, with the sugar, spice, and everything nice, an accidental dose of chemical X, and a an on-purpose dose of chemical X.
Yes, but this character's just pretty well-meaning and kind of dim-witted, so it's not really that scary. It's like, to him, he thinks of it as the Incredible Hulk in a way, and I can sort of agree with that, so for that reason, I'm probably gonna have to give Bunny a 1. Just not creepy enough.
I mean, she may look a little bit scary, but she's well-meaning for someone who looks a little bit like Quasimodo, Frankenstein, and the Incredible Hulk in the body of a freakish Powerpuff Girl.
Yeah, so...
Personally, I would prefer Bunny than Bliss any day.
But all we can say is that this character wouldn't last too long. You'll have to watch the episode to figure that out for yourself, but... Speaking of the 1990s, you might want to get yourself a teddy bear for this one, because for Courage the Cowardly Dog, we had to choose something very scary, because there were a lot of bizarre characters.
And since Courage the Cowardly Dog is turning 25 years old this year, we decided to include him on our list.
Yeah.
Now, there have been a lot of freaky, nightmarish-inducing characters on the show, like King Ramesses, Freaky Fred, Muriel when she got possessed by a mattress, and this scary girl playing the violin.
But the scariest one of all is none other than the spirit of the harvest moon. And I have to say, this is just a total side story. I think I remember seeing this episode by complete accident when I was a little kid. I think it was on Boomerang on top of that, in the middle of the night! Yeah, I don't know, but because of the main characters not respecting the land and the farm, this horrific spirit places an evil curse all over the farm, and it gets even to the point where he wants to force them out. But I think that's the least of the problems. Just look at this thing!
Yeah, he's not even an animated character. It's just somebody's head chroma keyed into a cartoon, which is impressive, because chroma key was still pretty new in the 90s.
But very scary! And just for that alone, he's our first 5! Like, that's way too scary!
And we got another disturbing character, this time from a show from the 2000s.
Yeah, and, I remember seeing this one a time or two, but this character can be found in an episode called Who Let the Cat Out of the Old Bag's House from the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Not much is known about this feline, which is just called Disturbing Cat. There's really, no name for it or whatever.
This creepypasta-inspired cat is actually made from a photoshopped image of an ordinary cat, but just spookified for the setting of Flapjack.
Yeah. For me, it's a range between a 4 and a 5, so I'm gonna say 4.5. Definitely very scary, but I have to say probably not as scary as that. Alright, cut it out! But when it comes to something like Adventure Time, we recently talked about those horrific zombies that can be found in From Bad to Worse. But I think that's the least of Finn and Jake's worries. Because the scariest character that we can find from Adventure Time, none other than the Lich.
I mean, just look at this guy!
Yeah, because, what else can we say? He has, just everything. His face, the ominous voice, just pretty much everything. And he even has the power to predict the end of everything. He's sort of like Ragnarok.
I'm not really sure how many times he appeared on the show, because Adventure Time was like the first Cartoon Network series to get 10 seasons.
Yeah, everything that we've seen about him, he gets a straight up 5. Like, good golly, Miss Molly. But now, we're gonna go on to a character that we can call pretty unacceptable! That is none other than Lemon Grab. He just may be, like, you know, like the scream, because she's just very obnoxious or whatever, but I think the scream is, like, that's nothing compared to what he really does. Eating his own kind. Do you know what that is? That's cannibalism! Yeah!
I mean, it's a lemon eating a lemon! It's like a human eating a human!
Definitely a 4 out of 5 for quite a sour lemon. We're gonna have to go back to the park for Terror Tales of the Park, because we had a lot of trouble trying to figure this one out. But here's the piece of advice, though. Don't mess with the Scarecrow's wife.
The lesson that Mordecai and Rigby had to learn in the 3rd installment of the Terror Tales from the Park series, when he emerges from within, he has the power of turning his victims into pumpkins of his very own. But horrifically, he can also kill you and plant your seeds into his pumpkin patch.
So, let's just say that you don't want to be turned into a pumpkin, especially when people love to carve those pumpkins into something as decorations for their house. So, if you become a pumpkin, there's no going back. So
Lemon Grab, what should we give him?
Lemon Grab's a 4, and Scarecrow is a 5, but unfortunately for the Amazing World of Gumball, I don't know what episode this came from, because there's so many episodes, but Gumball being possessed by Carrie is one of my least favorite episodes of the show. Like, I cannot stand Gumball being possessed at all, because, not just because it's just creepy or whatever, but I hate seeing one beloved main character being done dirty in just one episode left and right. It's just like, why would you guys do that? So for some reason,
to be completely fair, Carrie is a ghost and she can't eat, so she possesses Gumball's body and then later Richard's body, so that way she can eat.
I know, but
put Gumball through a crazy junk food eating spree throughout the course of the episode.
Yeah, I know, but I just really don't think it's necessary for you guys to have it like be for an entire episode. Like, maybe like a running gag or something throughout the whole show. But like, what? Like, really? Just like one whole episode about it? Come on, Gumball's just a 2. Like, seriously, Gumball, you can't make Gumball scary, man.
Gumball's possessed form is not the only creepy thing from Gumball.
Oh, yeah. Here's something from Gumball that is pretty bad. Not because it's just creepy, but it's also from one of the most grotesque episodes ever made from the show, because you have to think about this. Like, they made this character completely out of, like, vomit and belly button hair or something like that. So when you put those gross things together and microwave it, you get a very disgusting creature named Kenneth. But the horrific thing about Kenneth, which is why we're putting him up at a 4, he has the ability to swallow you whole.
According to our records, he only appeared twice throughout the course of the 6 seasons of Gumball, but we're not sure if he's going to come back in Season 7.
But these characters, plural, we're going to have to give these characters more so of a 3. For the evil turtles, they may look like ordinary turtles, but they have a very scary twist. They have the ability to be invincible to pretty much any obstacle that comes their way. Just like Kenneth, these turtles want to devour you.
Yeah, because they're basically the offspring of the evil turtle that we met in a previous episode from the show.
But the scariest thing, to make matters worse, is that Richard adopted this turtle when she was pregnant, meaning that now there's even more of these ominous turtles out there to cause chaos and anarchy all over Elmore. But if you want to see something pretty disturbing, head down to Beach City to meet Frybo, because even though Steven does something very questionable and hilarious at the start, how long will that laughter last? Because even though a mysterious gem shard ends up in Frybo's costume body or whatever, because as revealed in the episode, it causes Frybo to come to life, right?
Because the gem shard that Steven uses can actually bring clothing to life.
As time passes by, the shard has an ominous turn, and it causes Frybo to become a very vulgar, grotesque, and ominous monster capable of choking the residents of Beach City and force-feeding the fries that he has.
Ugh, do you think that's disturbing? What about when Pearl basically stabs the character with her spear, making him leak ketchup look like blood?
But thankfully, we usually get our fries either frozen or from a restaurant, so we don't have to worry about that kind of scary turn.
Thank goodness Frybo only appeared once in the show.
And
But then, in Cartoon Network's first mini-series, Over the Garden Wall, happy 10th anniversary Over the Garden Wall, we got a character named
Enoch. This is where things get very strange. He may look scary in a way, because just look at the face, and you're thinking, oh my god, what is he gonna do? He's friendly, however. Or is he? Because he thinks that Wirt and Greg are committed for murder.
Okay, those are really wild assumptions for a guy who looks like he has a pumpkin head.
So, just for that alone, we know we've done this a lot, and Frybo and Enoch, you both get a 4. You may want to prepare, because I think we have another 5 coming in. I think we have a couple more 5s coming into play here. Because in Liquid Plaza Turbo, there is a secret weapon that can come in handy to fight enemies, as enemies will become powerless by turn into skeletons. And that is none other than a skeleton remote. But you have to be very wary when you use this item, because the effects are permanent. Meaning that if you are a skeleton, you can't have your body back.
Well, if you don't know what we're talking about, this is basically something from KO's Nightmare from the episode Let's Not Be Skeletons from OK KO Let's Be Heroes.
But if you want to see something that really isn't just a nightmare, how about the Gomes from Infinity Train? Because they may have been seen every now and then, but they have a much more significant role in quite possibly the darkest book of them all, Book 3, Cult of the Conductor. And as Simon found out, these creatures have the ability to suck your soul out.
The very first time we've ever seen a character actually die and turn into a skeleton on screen.
And just for that alone, Infinity Train has been considered by many to be quite possibly the darkest of all Cartoon Network shows. And in fact, it was originally on Cartoon Network before whenever Book 2 was released, it shifted over to HBO Max. Or was it Book 2 or was it Book 3?
Cartoon Network aired both Book 1 and Book 2, while Book 3 and Book 4 were made exclusively for Max.
But even to this day, honestly, Simon, for the way you treated Hazel, you kind of deserved to be given away, to say the least. And just for that alone, Simon and Gomes, I'm gonna have to put you both at the ranking here, and you both are gonna get a 5 out of 5. But for these characters, you may want to plug your nose in here, because the final characters that we're going to talk about, just on a little bit more of a lighter note, to try and end this video on a much more happier and comedy side, for the final characters, we have the Aloysius. And you better be careful when these critters are around, because coming from me, I've seen this episode a plethora of times.
And you guys have seen them in our April Fool's video.
So the thing is, they have the ability to listen to you, because you place the crown on your head, and they actually become yours. So you can control them to do whatever you want, right? And all that stuff. But they can also deliver quite a stench, to say the least. Anyway, here's the thing, though. Their eyes are green, but when the crown is split in half, they turn red. And this is where they become very friendly to very troublesome, and not to mention kind of scary.
How many scale heads should we give these rocks?
Honestly, I find these characters more funny than anything, so they honestly get a 2. Of course, we can't go over every single scary character, because that would just be like hours and hours and hours, so we had to choose the scariest ones available. So every single one that we have here, pretty terrifying to look at or even watch in action. But it is Halloween after all.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But what do you guys think is the scariest Cartoon Network or Looney Tunes or Hanna-Barbera character? Let us know in the comments below, and we will reply to your comments. Or you can share this video across all your social media platforms, or any of them for that matter, and tell more people about it.
So, let's just say that we just hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween, okay?
Yeah. And don't watch these characters in action after midnight. Otherwise, you'll have nightmares.
Yeah.